progress.
I'll call this meeting, the regular Board of Education meeting, to order. We'll start with a reciting of our vision statement. Every school will be a thriving school that prepares every student to graduate from high school, college, career, and community ready. We'd like to ask for a moment of silence this evening for our district to recognize the passing of Ariana Watkins, who was most recently a 10th grade student in Milwaukee, but attended Jefferson Middle School during her middle school years. Ariana had a great passion for an understanding of anime. She loved the art of anime and was very artistic herself. She was kind and caring, a person that brought happiness to share or talk about her skills with anyone that asked. She brought joy to everyone around her. Her passing has taken a significant toll on many students and staff in the Jefferson and Memorial community, and we remember them tonight. Please join me in participating in a moment of silence to honor her. Thank you. There were 10 written statements submitted for this meeting. A summary of the written statements. 2 opposed the district not adding more specific, measurable, transparent language around water bottle filling stations in the wellness policy. 1 in favor of including the custodial unit in the $5 an hour wage increase. 1 opposed to MMSD retirees paying more for dental insurance than full monthly premium. 1 opposed to receiving minimal communication about bus safety concerns and bus stop locations for Toki Middle School. 1 in support of MMSD equity professional development training being available in real time for the public to stream. 3 opposed to the removal of Senate Principal Dr. Jeffrey Copeland. 1 in support of opt-out form for all gender identity content in schools. We have an additional written public comment that came in person in support of Dr. Copeland's reinstatement at Senate Middle School. We have 7 folks joining us for public comment via Zoom this evening, and about 16 folks joining us for public comment in the room with us tonight. We're going to start with the folks who are joining us via Zoom. Oh, yes. For public comment tonight, we will have interpreters for Spanish speakers if needed. Before you start your comment, please let us know if you will need the interpreter. As you give your comment, please take periodic pauses for interpretation, extra time will be granted for interpretation. And if our interpreter could also echo
Para
that.
aquellas personas que van a aportar sus comentarios en español esta noche, les ofrecemos interpretación si es que la necesitan. Les pedimos que antes de comenzar a hablar nos notifique si van a necesitar la interpretación y a medida que vayan hablando también le pedimos que vayan tomando una pausa para la interpretación. También se les va a ofrecer tiempo adicional para que se pueda llevar a cabo esta interpretación.
Thank you.
Our first speaker is Mary Jo Walters.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, this might seem long-winded, but I haven't spoke before the school board yet. This is my first time. I usually email on this issue, gender identity. And I'm going to use the word gender identity this one time, but the rest of the time I'm going to call it GI, just to be clear, because I don't really like saying gender identity. Okay, I want to say thank you to the school board and staff. I do appreciate this public comment period. Almost every day I'm consumed and I document the phenomena of GI as it appears in my children's backpacks or emails. So I'm constantly watching to see how it comes down into their world. I'll just summarize real quick. I won't read from this because it's already written. But basically in the spring, last spring, East High had a survey that went out to the 9th through 12th graders. And there were 5 questions in and around gender identity and sexual orientation. And I was pretty surprised when I saw it because I thought, this seems like something a parent should know about if it's coming in the kids' realm, especially when you talk about sexual orientation. And so I had a conversation with the principal about that, saying, my concerns and my objections to the survey being done at all, mainly because I don't believe we should box ourselves in. And I think gender identity does that. It boxes people in, even as it pretends to, be fluid or whatever words you want to use. It's really is a categorization of self that I don't endorse or teach my children. And so with that, I realized that, this came in 2015 with Welcoming Schools, which is a part of the Human Rights Campaign, which followed the legwork that they did in Madison, a lot of canvassing around same-sex marriage. So they came in through same-sex marriage. Welcoming Schools came in. I never did find out how much money the school district pays Welcoming Schools to train, but it came in pretty fast. 2015, my little one had he had the unicorn flyer or whatever it was about it. And I pulled him immediately. I talked to his teacher and I pulled him from any of that shit. But my daughter was already exposed to it. And then my oldest was too. Anyway, I don't like it. I'm opposed to it. I think there should have been an opt-out way back when, 2015. Why weren't we addressed? I can't think of anything else that was so top down that came down to our children, just plopped right in their lap. Anyway, I'm asking for an opt-out now, almost 10 years later, for the parents that haven't, been introduced to this yet and also oppose. Where's the opt-out? How do we create it? Who does that?
Our next speaker.
Thank you. Next is Leanne.
Nice cutoff. That was a nice cutoff.
Our next speaker is Leanne Nasrallah.
Hi, my name is Leanne Nasrallah. So I'm a junior at Bell Phillips Memorial, who I'm talking about.
I'm very sorry, but we can't hear you.
Really? Oh, can you hear me better now?
I think you are both gonna have to get a little closer and speak as loud as you can comfortably.
All right. So my name is Leanne Nasrallah, and I'm a junior at Bell Phillips Memorial, who first-handedly saw the effects of the placement of water bottle filling stations in our schools And like, we just wanted to thank you for adding more water bottle filling stations from the ESSAR fund that was received. But like the current policy does not guarantee that future generations will get to see these. And I've seen the positive effects from like all the things that they have on the students, especially people with disabilities, because I'm taking a semester of peer partners. And we spend time like closely with all kids of disabilities. And one peer in particular gets like super elated when passing by the filling station. Like they love to stay hydrated, particularly because of the condition they have, and also because they're running around a lot. They're a very active student. So we remind him, like he comes and he's like, can you fill up my water bottle? And we remind him like, hey, look, there's like a filling machine, like you can go and fill it up. And he gets super happy because like that's his chance to be independent and everything. And then like he literally starts jumping around and dancing. So then it's just like a nice experience for all kids because like water fountains are good for like not every kid, because some people have mobility issues also in that class, in wheelchairs, in like things like that, like they can't walk, stuff like that. So if they need to stay hydrated, they need a teacher. Sometimes the teachers are like busy or something with the students in the class. So we just wanted to hope that like you can have like specific criteria about the filling stations, like having them easy access, like by gyms and by the cafeteria, as recommended by the American Heart Association. And yeah, we just wanted to ensure that it would be here for future policies to expand on. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Rosario Angelo.
Necesito intérprete.
Adelante.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Rosario Angulo. Hoy día voy a hablar en nombre de la señora Miriam Jiménez, que no pudo estar en esta reunión, pero quiero compartir su historia de ella.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rosario Angulo, and I'm here today in representation of Miriam Jimenez, who wasn't able to be here, and I am here to share her story.
Miriam es madre de 3 niñas que están en Madison Metropolitan School District. La niña de 17 años está en el último año de high school.
Miriam is the mother of 3 daughters who are students in the Madison Metropolitan School District, and the daughter who is 17 years old, the oldest daughter, she is in high school.
Ella cada día lleva su mochila con libros, su computadora y su lonche, y ella es una buena estudiante.
Each day she goes to school with her backpack full of books, computers, her lunch, and she's a very good student.
Mi hija pasa en la escuela de 8 hasta las 5 de la tarde.
My daughter spends the day at school from 8 in the morning till 5 p.m.
Y nuestra comunidad necesita el apoyo para que los futuros profesionales les puedan dar más facilidad. Por ejemplo, quitarle el peso de una botella con agua en su mochila.
So our community needs help, needs support. So the students who we're preparing for the future have a reduced amount of weight on their backpacks, such as a water bottle.
Los estudiantes necesitan que tengan estas directrices para que puedan poner el dispensador de agua, para que así ellos no tengan que estar llevando su propia agua desde casa.
The students need to have these things set up, these rules, so they can have water bottle filling stations so they wouldn't have to bring water bottles from their home.
Mis hijas dicen que el sabor del agua no es agradable y que el agua es tibia en los dispensadores que hay actualmente.
My daughters say that the flavor of the water is not pleasant and the water is a little bit warm in the drinking fountains that are currently available.
Pido que por favor ayuden a todos los niños que tengan agua de calidad en las escuelas, que se pongan los nuevos dispensadores.
I ask that you help all students have good quality water in the schools and to provide water filling stations.
Lo que como madre de familia estoy pidiendo el apoyo de ustedes para que se ponga esta directriz en las nuevas políticas de la escuela cuando se renueve la escuela o se hagan nuevas escuelas.
As a mom of a family, I am asking you to please help students, help families, or help the schools set up these establish the rules and put new water bottle filling stations in the current schools or when you build new schools.
Muchas gracias por esta oportunidad de que podamos como madre de familia hablar con ustedes.
Thank you so much for this opportunity that we have as parents to talk to you.
Thank you. Next is Maria Victoria Barbosa.
I'm here. Estoy acá.
I am here.
Intérprete, gracias. Estoy de acuerdo completamente con la señora que habló anteriormente. Que se coloquen los dispensadores de agua tanto en las nuevas construcciones escolares como en las antiguas que van a ser renovadas y que todo esto aparezca en las políticas directrices de Madison Metropolitan School District.
I completely agree with the lady who spoke previously about installing new water bottle filling stations in the current schools or in new schools, and to make that part of the policies of the Madison Metropolitan School District.
No, no está mal. Es todo.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ana Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, are you available?
Señora Rodríguez, ¿está disponible?
Next is Victoria Conley.
Hello. Hi, thank you guys for letting me speak today. I just have something short and simple. I sent the email to the school board email address. I did get a response back that you guys would check out what I was saying, but I'm here today just to talk about the school bus policy. My daughter did an internal transfer from her home middle school to another middle school that's within the Madison School District on the school bus line. But when we attempted to get a bus pass, she was denied a bus pass because she chose to choose a school that suited her better and that better fitted her learning, that she could actually focus in and get a better education in. My issue is I don't understand why you guys would create a policy that would hinder her from getting to her school of choice. If you guys like support like better education or equity, or you guys are in support of students doing like internal transfers so they can gain a better education or whatever it may fit their needs, why would you guys create that policy 5111 saying that a student who chooses to go to a school outside of their home area, they wouldn't be allowed transportation, even though we still qualify or meet all the other stipulations, like she's more than 1.5 miles from the school. The school is still on the bus line. So I'm just confused to why that policy is there. It's like you guys are almost like saying if you want to go to a school in a better area, we're going to let you do this, but we're not going to provide transportation, even though if you stuck at the school that you didn't like and it was probably bad for your health, we would give you that pass. But since you want to go to a better area, we're going to remove this supportive services to help you get there. So it still like creates a roadblock for her and us. So I just want you guys to look into that and just explain like why she wouldn't have that option to still get her bus pass. But and I want you guys to answer today, because I know you guys like wrote the policy up and you guys said like, if your kid chooses to go to an internal transfer, you guys still wouldn't, you guys don't provide transportation. I understand it when it's like the elementary school bus and the transportation issue we have with that, and it's a yellow bus. I get that. So I'm not saying provide her brother or the next kid with that, but she's on the Madison school bus line. And she can easily ride the city bus to her other middle school, which is about, I don't know, maybe like a mile from the current middle school. So I don't understand that. So I guess I oppose that, and I want you guys to look into it because we still qualify for that. So why would you guys remove that supportive service? Because we want to go to a better school for us. Do you guys not answer questions at these meetings? No.
We're only allowed to speak to what we've noticed for in the meeting. So we haven't posted notice for the policy you're referring to. We wouldn't be able to engage with you as you talk to us through public comment. But thank you.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening. I sent the emails, VCon, well, I won't say on here, but if you guys just can look at that and maybe tell her school to provide her with the bus pass because we still qualify. So that'll be nice. Thank you.
Thank you. That's our last public speaker via Zoom. Our first public speaker in person is Erin Proctor. Turn it on.
Thank you. How about that? There we go. Okay.
Done.
It's been a few years. Hello, school board members. My name is Erin Proctor, and I'm a 6th grade math teacher in the DLI program at Senate Middle School. It is my 4th year at Senate. I come before you tonight to protest Dr. Copeland no longer being an employee of MMSD. In 8 days in September, Dr. Copeland did what his predecessor could not do in 3 years. He took charge and changed the school culture in 8 days. Cell phones were no longer a problem because students have them off and away from the start of the day to the end of the day, because the consequences were laid out and followed through with fidelity school-wide. Cell phone problem gone means that students can learn, teachers can teach. That is an amazing thing to see. Bathroom escorts, 100% of the time. Students were not escaping the academic rigor to hang out in the stairwells away from cameras or in the bathrooms making TikTok videos and breaking sinks anymore. Students are in classrooms learning, teachers are teaching. That is an amazing thing to see. No more foul language, not at each other, not at staff, not in the classrooms, the hallways, or recess. The school feels different. It feels better. No, it feels great because of what Dr. Copeland did in 8 days in September. For 2 weeks now, the district put him on leave and he no longer works for MMSD. It doesn't feel quite the same. Every day, it feels a little less like those first 8 days. That is what brings me here tonight. MMSD, who preaches Black excellence, put my excellent Black principal on leave, and now he no longer works for MMSD. MMSD, who preaches restorative justice, to my knowledge, did not offer restorative justice to my principal. He just no longer works for MMSD. When we do not practice what we preach, we create dissent, disharmony, and exodus. Just look at how many of our staff we lost last year. We need strong leaders who are driven to create the change we want in the outcomes of all of our students, especially our Black and Brown students. The first step is creating a school culture that has students learning and teachers teaching. Dr. Copeland is one of those leaders. He did that in our school in 8 days in September. You are the school board. You have the power to undo these last 2 weeks and give us back our principal. That is why I'm here before you tonight. That is what I need. This is what my students need. This is what my school needs. Please take an active role in making this happen, and thank you for listening.
Shannon Stevens.
Hello, fellow board members, Dr. Jenkins. I planned on coming here to speak about one thing, and that is also to stand behind Dr. Copeland. I am a 20-year staff. I'm a school social worker. I work for the Transition Education Program. There's no greater overlooked population in our school district than homeless students. That's number one, and that's a fact. They don't get talked about, and they're with us all the time. As a Doyle staff member, I was assigned to take on a school at the start of the school year and spend my first 2 weeks there. I'm assigned to sub for 2 days at a school. I'm a social worker. I'm not a teacher. But I went to Senate, and in those first 2 weeks of school, I felt something that I haven't felt in 15 years in a middle school in Madison, and that is hope. Hope because of one principal that came into the building who had a belief in what those kids can do and what that staff can do. And to see that disappear overnight is the most disheartening thing I have ever been a part of. It was the most wonderful thing to be invited to this community that invited me like I was a part of them, to help out and to support them. And I see it trickling away now as the days tick by. And I don't want to see that for their students. I don't want to see that for their staff or their families. So I also appeal on behalf of Dr. Jeffrey Copeland that you reconsider. The third thing that I decided I would need to talk about, because I happened to look at the HR report before I came here. In front of you stands someone who's starting their 21st year. I'm one of the best social workers that this school district has. I have a master's degree. I have 2 state certifications. I have 50 additional academic credits in restorative justice, criminal justice, mental health, juvenile justice, and mental health first aid. I have just saw a brand new staff hired on an out-of-state license, not even approved yet for the state of Wisconsin, who is now making more money than I make on a 192-day contract. That hurts. It's kind of embarrassing, and I understand we need staff desperately. That's why I'm helping out at Senate. That's why it's been such a pleasure to be there, to see kids again, to work with them. We need staff of all types. But when your staff who have been here and dedicated their career are seeing brand new people walk in the door making more than they do, it does not feel well. And I know I'm not the only one in that situation. Every profession is. And I want to end with my 19 seconds to say, in the time that I spent at Senate Middle School, everyone from the lunch staff to the SEAs, to the BEAs, to the teaching staff, to the special ed staff, and to the student services staff, everyone said that Dr. Jeffrey Copeland was the best thing that happened to that school in all their years. Thank you very much for listening.
Tracy Drill.
Hi, my name is Tracy Drill. I'm a CC teacher at Senate Middle School. I'm also a mother of 6 children that have gone through the MMSD schools. I have been in this school district for over 31 years. I have walked the halls with Milt McPike, and my daughter, who won the Milt McPike Scholarship, is now pursuing her doctorate at Yale. My youngest daughter, who graduated last year, did not have such a wonderful experience. She called me numerous times about fights at school, about people coming into her school and fighting with people that didn't even belong there. She talked about hidden cameras being installed in the locker room to spy on staff. She talked about that after she was also a victim of the DECA scandal. So I am here to tell you that the feel of my building at Senate Middle School as a mother and a teacher is back to the days of Milt McPike with Dr. Copeland there. I know what happened, and it is not okay that you unilaterally took this away from our school. My children were lucky as the schools started to decline with poor leadership, because they had a family and tenacity and people that would stand behind them. My students do not all have that. They have us, and they have come to us and told us, I feel great at school now. No one's taking a picture of me in the bathroom. No one's taking a picture of me and trying to get me to fight. No one is bullying me, and that was due to this man. So when you get the opportunity to vote whether or not to reinstate him, please go the right way.
Tom, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I think I'm going to mispronounce your name, but I'm going to say Blue.
Wow.
Blau.
Yes, I'm Tom Blau. I'm a 25-year veteran of the Madison School District, and I echo everything that my peer group here, awesome colleagues at Senate Middle School have said. And I want to, like, to everybody else that's out here, to everybody else that's in TV land, you don't get it. I mean, teaching's tough. And the things that we have seen in our hallways, the things that we see outside, the way kids talk, it's incredible what we have been asked to put up with. And finally, we have an administrator who has our backs. It's crazy. It, like everybody said, it lifts our hearts. It makes us want to come back. I've never thought about not wanting to teach. I've known since I was 12 years old that I'm going to be a teacher. My mom tells me, you're going to be a teacher. You got to be a teacher. You have this gift. And that gift has been dying because I look at my kids and I look at the way they keep getting pushed back into the room and behaviors never change. Like, can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. But then this man comes in and he says, you know what? I will fight for you. You run your classrooms. The kids don't run their classrooms. The parents don't run your classrooms. You run your classrooms. He has our back. You guys, it's incredible to have a boss that has your back and you know it down in your gut. I can show up. I can do what's right. I know I'm an awesome teacher. And I know this man has my back. And he was taken. We all know, the Senate staff, we all know why he was fired or why he was asked to resign. And it's crap, man. It's so unfair. Like they talk about restorative justice. Yes, he accepts responsibility. He knows what he did, and I hope there's a trial or whatever. But this guy, man, this didn't have to happen. He should still be here. Take 2 weeks for a class or something, sensitivity training. But this man, God, you guys, to have a boss like we had for 8 days that had our back, it is unbelievable the feeling that he gave us. And just taken. No good reason. And we're told as a staff, we'd appreciate you not saying anything about this to the media. The media is here, man. Come on. They know this isn't right, and you guys have this power to make right what was done wrong. If you ever want to really make an impact, the water bottles are great, and I love that there's water bottles. We have them at Senate. Thank you very much. But you have the ability to save a school, save a staff, save 700 kids. And please, like we've all begging you, please just do what's right. And that is right to bring back Dr. Copeland. Thank you for your time.
Rob Larson.
Good evening, Rob Larson, President of Local 60. I work maintenance out of building services. First, thank you so much to both the administration and each of the board members who stepped up to the plate to ensure fair compensation for the 4 employee groups who were included in the $5 an hour raise. Many of them were very overworked and underpaid. They certainly deserve it. Speaking of overwork and underpaid, we are here tonight wondering why exactly was the custodial maintenance unit not included? I would challenge all of you to sit down and write a list of what all we do for the district. Then you could times it times 10, and there's still going to be a lot of stuff left off. Sorry. We actually do have some very serious responsibilities in maintaining and protecting hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' properties. Our jobs are demanding and have a huge part of providing a safe, healthy, and clean environment for our scholars to excel. Comparable positions within Dane County and the city of Madison jobs with very minimal mechanical responsibilities have starting wages of $7 to $8 higher than ours. It's no wonder they're fully staffed and we can't beg people to come take this job. In the past, we've had 200 to 300 applicants come to fill 50 positions. Now, I don't know the exact numbers, but I would guess on 20 applicants, half come, a couple show to the interviews, and we might get 1, maybe 2 out of that whole group. I need to remind you that our unit does not receive steps and lanes after the first year. We were also excluded from the $250 to $500 per month bonuses for attendance, as well as summer bonuses some received for working through the summer. That is several $1,000s less a year than other units were paid also. How does this make us feel as a unit? I'll let you ask our members. But I've never seen morale this low. We've worked our tails off, risking our health during the pandemic to assure that our schools could open safely, with spreading as little COVID as possible. Now we are working through all the construction projects to assure that our scholars have a safe learning environment. So how are we thanked? A pat on the back. We'll see what we can do. Well, a pat on the back doesn't pay for gas in our vehicles or the increasing inflation with no sign of relief. We ask you that you include us in the $5 raise with the other previous units. And thank you for listening. I hope we can get this worked out. It would be very grateful. Thank you.
Paul Dunhove.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Paul Donahue. I am the daytime custodian here at the Doyle Building. I've been working with the district for 16 years. I worked my way up from worker one to my current position as the building two here, promoting 5 times. I've been at lead at 2 other schools, 2 other buildings, worked at the grounds department and with the trucks. I've worked at 18 schools throughout my time, the 4 high schools, the 4 main high schools. I have enjoyed my time working here with the district. I've met many wonderful people, hardworking people, and made numerous friends along the way, some of them lifelong friends too, I can say. As a custodian, we are the first ones in the building to turn on the lights. Almost always, we are almost always the last ones out of the building to turn off the lights. We wear many hats throughout our day and our time in our buildings. Daily cleaners, movers of furniture. We're the in-house electricians, plumbers, carpenters, HVAC, boiler technicians, and not to oversell that on these points, but we handle many of these items to free up times for the trades to do their work elsewhere when their expertise is needed. We do call on these experts when the work needed to be done calls for their expertise. We are the in-house lawn care and snow removal people coming in early when the snow falls to clear the walkways and sidewalks for the students and staff to use safely. Some snow days when the snow is bad enough, we are the only ones in the buildings to make sure that the snow removal is done for the next day so that school can carry on like it should. We're one of the main points of contact, if not the only point of contact on projects occurring in our schools and buildings. Examples are concrete work, asbestos removal and abatement, tree removal, playground renovations, department and room remodels, elevator replacements and repairs. There are more, but you get the idea. We're the window washers. We do the security checks at the end of the night to make sure the building is secure and safe for tomorrow morning. We take care of graffiti, vandalism when it occurs at our buildings. We perform the fire drills with the principals and school staffs. We worked through the pandemic in our buildings, sometimes being the only ones here. We were happy to do it. We were happy to have a job. We were happy to have a paycheck, especially in a time when so many people were losing their jobs. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were the only ones in there washing down all surfaces, disinfecting rooms where there had been positive COVID cases. We put up signage, stocked caddies in all rooms, provided and ordered PPE. Our workload doubled it during this time. We were in the know and a main source of information for staff to come to when they needed an answer. We are grateful to get a paycheck once again. We work with students in different facets, from helping them find their teachers if they are lost on the first day of school, to giving in-house field trips to teach the kids about the mechanics of the buildings and how they work, giving them more of an understanding, knowledge, and ownership of their building they are coming to every day. We have students work with us to help us clean if and when requested by teachers, and it helps us to build a rapport with the students and a mutual respect and understanding. We have dumpster dive for students' brand new football gloves that were accidentally thrown out with the lunch trash to be rewarded with guests with the biggest smile and a very genuine hug. Not to mention all the retainers that we've dug through the trash for. Sometimes we're just a friendly shoulder to lean on when a staff member needs a friend to talk with or just a vent. In conclusion, all these hats makes us feel like we're needed and belong to the school community, and we enjoy it. It also helps to keep my head warm on those chilly snow days. Thanks for letting me speak. We ask that you take our request for a $5 raise into serious consideration. We feel we've earned it along with the others. Thank you.
Adam Koenig.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Adam Koenig. I am a Senate Middle School teacher, science, and father of 2 future Senate stars. I'm here tonight to implore the board to rectify the mistreatment of Dr. Jeffrey Copeland, former Senate principal. I need to speak here tonight on behalf of current and future Senate stars. I can't drive here tonight to tell you in person what a fantastic start to the school year we had. Can't drive here tonight to tell you how safe they felt at school for the first time this year. Can't drive here to tell you that they were learning something in their classes this year, that they were free from bullying this year. And that's all thanks to the leadership of Dr. Jeffrey Copeland. As the year began, I talked to a few neighborhood Frank Alice families, so the attendance district that I live in as well. They have some kids coming up and, they're eyeing Senate. So they asked me, year to year, how's Senate? How's Senate? And, the word that trickles out on the street hasn't always been positive regarding Senate Middle School. It's a school I've always believed in. It's why I stay at Senate Middle School and why I raised my family in the attendance district. But families were concerned and families have been concerned. And this year was the first year that I told those neighborhood families, and I something to the effect of this. I said, you know what, if Dr. Jeffrey Copeland is the principal at Senate Middle School, your kid's going to attend one of the best middle schools in the city, unequivocally. So that's what's on the line here. Your action is critical for our children and our community. Dr. Copeland led us into this year with the mantra, Senate number one. Absent the leadership of Dr. Copeland himself, it will be difficult to uphold this mantra. The board has an opportunity to show us that you truly do listen to us, you do truly support us, and you are on our side. So I implore you, in closing, please reconsider the firing of Dr. Jeffrey Copeland and reinstate him as the principal of Senate Middle School. Thank you for your time.
Carmen Ames.
Hi, my name is Carmen Ames. Hi, Michelle. I've been in the district for 30 years and all of them have been at Senate. Many principals. I echo what a lot of my staff members have said, that this year has really been a year of hope. There were a lot of people last year. That's why I don't speak in public. A lot of people last year that were wanting to move on because of the culture of our school. I realized he was only with kids 8 days. But he changed the culture of our school in 8 days. When he came in and he had all of these things to say, we were all ready, like it was gonna be hard. And we were ready to fight that battle with him to make our school better. We fought that battle in 8 days. To see a culture change in 8 days is phenomenal. We need to continue that culture. And yes, it is us. We are part of that culture. But we need someone that backs us up, that believes in the culture and believes in the Senate the way that we do. That was Dr. Copeland. We need Dr. Copeland as our leader so that we can be Senate number one. Thank you.
Miss Linda Hoskins.
Good evening. My name is Linda Hoskin, and I'm a former staff of this school system in the special education. And what was so bad that Dr. Copeland could not get a second chance? One of the problems, I believe, is after he took the interview, he was fired before he was hired, because he had not been on the job for a month. The reason he was fired was he was a dark African-American man with a PhD, and he was great for the students, staff, and the community. He put his feet on the ground running. He had begun to turn the school around. What more do the district want? Why don't you all give him a second chance? I'm asking and requesting a second chance for him because I'm a proud product of an all-Black school. Dr. Copeland brought pride, respect, dignity, and love to this school system. I have never been arrested, been to jail or prison. I don't drink, do drugs, smoke cigarettes, or read. I don't gamble. I have been in Wisconsin 45 years, never had an argument or fight with anyone because I am a product of what Dr. Copeland is trying to bring to this school system where the students need it and he can bring them and put them on the right track with positive aims and goals in life. The teacher, student, and my granddaughter loved him. He even sit down and ate lunch with my granddaughter, who had not had a principal eat with her since first grade. The things that Dr. Copeland is needed here. Now, today, tomorrow, and on and on. Let's get Senate back to a #1 school. This was not a hire for the friendship and buddy system. It was a hire for who can get the job done with pride, respect, dignity, and love. A person that is here for the betterment of the students and teachers. Whenever we dropped my granddaughter off, he was walking the school grounds. It is not what the district wants, but what the students need. It is about love, caring, and sharing. The district is not, it's not what you want, district. It's what the students and teachers need, a strict principal with love, pride, respect, and dignity. And I would say, I am what you will see if you bring him back here. You need a person that loves to do the job, love the students and the community.
Avery Wallace.
Good evening. My name is Avery Wallace, and I'm a teacher at Cherokee Heights Middle School. The custodians at our school are essential to maintaining our learning environment. They help us cool the building on 90-degree days. They help us find and move bookcases so our students can have classroom libraries. They make sure each classroom has enough desks as new students transfer into our classes. Honestly, they do more things for our school than I could name. From my perspective as a classroom teacher, one of the most visible tasks of our custodians is the daily cleaning of our school. With 500 plus people coming in and out of the building daily, the place gets dirty. Last school year during second semester, we had an unfilled custodian position, which meant that there was no way for our classrooms and hallways to be cleaned daily. Either classroom teachers had to wait several days for their classrooms to be swept, or they chose to add one more responsibility to their plate and clean their own classrooms. On the last day of school, we hosted an 8th grade promotion ceremony. The morning of, staff was fiercely trying to sweep the hallways, or at least the hallway where families would be walking. However, families and the wider community deserve to know what is happening to their students' learning environment when custodial positions are unfilled. I am an alumnus of MMSD. I graduated from West High School 12 years ago. And from kindergarten through 12th grade, I never had to learn in a dirty environment, unlike my students last year. When our students have to learn in a dirty classroom, what message are we sending to them about how we value and about how they should value their education? We cannot afford to undervalue our custodial staff.
Micah Oredo? Mika. I'm sorry. Mika Oriedo. I'm sorry, I tried.
As a product of Madison schools, people tried a lot, still get that wrong.
Sorry.
My name is Mika Oriedo. I'm a 7th grade teacher at Senate Middle School. Thank you for entertaining me here. I'm a product of Madison schools from 5th grade on. I'm a product of Senate Middle School, way back in the day. I'm here to speak on behalf with Senate students, Senate staff, Senate families, Senate community, which includes my wife. She and I both taught at Senate for over 20 years. My son, an 8th grader at Senate Middle School, and my daughter, a 6th grader at Senate Middle School. This support that I'm here to ask for, and I hope you give, starts with getting our principal, Dr. Jeffrey Copeland, back to Senate. Although Dr. Copeland was at Senate, and you heard this, he was only at Senate for a short period of time, his impact on the school culture and climate is tremendous, undeniable. Last year at Senate, the hardest year I've ever had. Students, staff, families endured a lot of negative stuff. Safety was an issue, emotional, physical safety, to the point where students were assaulted. My own wife was assaulted. People were scared to walk through the halls. And rightfully so. You walked through the halls, you heard vulgarity, fights, pushing, the whole nine. It's the worst I've seen in my 22 years at Senate, by far. Dr. Copeland brought a new positive energy to our school and to our community, something I had never seen before to that extent. We felt it in the hallways, we felt it in the playground, we felt it in the cafeteria. High expectations were clearly laid out and follow through happened. And this is in 8 days. People felt safe at Senate. It was an incredible turnaround. There's hope and optimism. We were all part of the turnaround, we still are, but now we've lost our leader. I'm adding my voice to advocate for the reinstatement of Dr. Copeland. As a district, we've hung our hat on restorative practices. As an educator, as a father, I use these practices every day to help my students, my family learn. Expulsions are as a last resort. Suspensions, those are highly encouraged not to happen. It's in our own behavior education plan. It's time MSD follow our own advice, staying away from such extremes. Bring Dr. Copeland back.
Peter Thompson.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. I really appreciate being able to stand before you and advocate for Dr. Jeffrey Copeland. This summer, I was privileged enough to serve on an interviewing committee. When I sat on that committee, I saw the potential candidates that we had to hire for Senate Middle School to be our next leader. And when I got to sit on that interview with Dr. Jeffrey Copeland, I thought to myself, here is our needle in the haystack. Here is our person that's going to lead us forth and carry our school to the next chapter, a chapter of greatness that I know that we can achieve through his presence. I was not disappointed. When he started at our school, he took a culture that Mika just talked about and turned it around. We have a school where kids are happy to attend. We have students that are producing work for the first time. I am a special education teacher. I've been in this job at Senate Middle School for 22 years, and I've never seen a greater start than this one for my students who are students with disabilities and students of color. 2 areas of focus for our school what we're focusing on. We want to achieve greatness, and we can do it. We can do it through the presence of Dr. Jeffrey Copeland, because he showed us in that short time that we have the power within us, but we need him there. We can't go back to complacency. We can't say, okay, we're going to band-aid the situation with people who are retired educators and assume that we're going to continue this great work that he started. Bring him back. This is a man who is a leader. He is a person that our kids can look up to. He's a person of color that our students who are Black can look to and say, that is our excellence right there. Bring him back and let's get this job done right. Thank you.
Nicole, I really want to say your last name right, and I don't know if that's going to happen, so I apologize in advance. Hudzinski, thank you. Nicole see, I can't even say it after you've said it.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hudzinski. I'm with the American Heart Association, and I'm here tonight to talk about the district wellness policy. I want to start by thanking school board members and district staff for all your work on the wellness policy to date. I especially want to thank Ashley Riley, who I assume is here tonight, for her leadership on the policy updates. I also want to take a moment to thank members of our coalition, including parents, students, and community members, for your engagement in this effort. It has been amazing to watch everyone rally around water access, and I'm truly thankful for your voice and for your partnership. We at the American Heart Association are involved in this conversation for two reasons. First, consuming water and being adequately hydrated is important to your health. The second is because we need to change the culture around beverage of choice. Too many kids are consuming too many sugar-sweetened beverages, but by making water more accessible, we can help make the healthy choice the easy choice. MMSD has been a leader in this space. Water filling stations are being installed in schools throughout the district as part of a recent ESSER allocation. Tonight, we're here to ask you to build on that and to continue being a leader in this space. Specifically, we're advocating for two things. First is allowing students to carry water bottles in the classroom. This piece is currently included in the district wellness policy, and we thank you for adding it. The second piece we're asking for is language ensuring that any newly built schools or those undergoing major renovations, including water filling stations, to certain specifications. This piece sitting here tonight is currently not in the draft. Placement criteria is important because water bottles do no good if kids can't fill up their water bottles throughout the day. You heard public comment at previous committee meetings about the long lines at water filling stations, making it difficult for students to refill their water bottles between classes. The CDC's Healthy Schools report says that effective water access means water is available throughout the school day, including in the cafeteria, the gym, and other indoor and outdoor physical activity facilities, and in hallways throughout the campus. The current policy language refers to building services developed plans, and that language gives us no assurances that filling stations will be included or best practice placement criteria will be adhered to. Building service plans, as well as wellness policy procedures, are not binding. They do not get voted on by this body, and they do not ensure that they will happen in the future. The district has been the leader in this space, and I do hope that continues to be the case for years to come. However, for us, hoping that it happens is not guaranteeing that it's going to happen. Leadership will change, priorities will change. That's reality. The only way to make sure it continues to happen for students in the future is to put it in the policy. We ask for your support on amendment, including the language in the wellness policy.
David J. Weimiller Jr. Thank you, Weimiller.
So far, most of my colleagues who have been here have been from in the district. Last year, I came new to the district. I have taught for 22 years, so 22 seems to be a magic number, by the way. I teach mathematics, 8th grade DLI at Senate Middle School. And in those 22 years teaching, I've taught in rural Wisconsin. I've taught in London. I taught at MMSD in summer school. London for 6 years, right? These experiences have, I taught at Oaklawn Academy, so students from Mexico and South Korea and all over the planet. In those 22 years teaching, last year was the hardest. Last year was the hardest personally for me, and last year was the hardest school I've taught at, right? Yet these guys had my back. throughout the entire time. I knew there was something in them, something that I don't think was allowed to be seen last year. And, you know, I don't want to go too much into things of what they had said. You've heard it all. I'm not going to repeat that. But last year was the toughest. But in 22 years of teaching, and I have seen some amazing things, this first couple weeks was easily the most extraordinary turnover I have ever seen or witnessed. I felt like my principal was Joe Clark, and I'd love to bring in my guitar and sing Stand By Me right now. So lean on me. And I also like to bring up a couple things. He's from Atlanta. He came down here, left his family, came up here to teach for us. And you let him go? And I'm from a small town, we don't do that. I had people in London who took me in while I was over there. When I left there were Toomies who said, when I said, you're like family to me, they said, you're not like family, you're family, right? And that's what I felt like at the beginning of this year. I also, as a political science minor, I was wondering, I thought there were checks and balances, and it just blew my mind yesterday that it was announced to the school before they came to you, because I have not seen this at a different school district. Before they came to you, that they announced it, before you had your choice to say, now the community knows that he's out and it's on the TV. I'm done. I support Dr. Copeland.
Phil Carlson.
Good evening. I'm Phil Carlson, a member of Moses Racial Justice for All Children Task Force, and an active participant in the task force's education advocacy group, whose primary concern is the well-being and success of our children. Tonight, I am speaking to you on behalf of Moses. Our mission is to build collective power to dismantle the systems of mass incarceration and mass supervision, and to eradicate the racial disparities in our community that contribute to them. The task force focuses specifically on measures to eradicate the childhood to school to prison pipeline. Last year, Moses adopted an official position to support the designation of ESSER III funds by MMSD to support the continuation and expansion of mental wellness and trauma support programs, BIPOC mental health care workers, anti-racist IEP support, adult support for children in crisis, Madison area out-of-school time programs, and programs to support replacement of exclusionary discipline, specifically support and expansion of restorative justice services. There is an ever-increasing mental health crisis in our schools. The trauma and isolation caused by the pandemic has led to learning loss and a loss of the normal development of social emotional skills. We must continue to use funds that are coming to the district towards mental health and trauma support. Additionally, there has been a national call to use ESSER III funds to narrow the school to prison pipeline. The nationally renowned Sentencing Project supports the use of funds to replace exclusionary discipline. We support this call for change. We know our children have suffered increased severe trauma as a result of their isolation during the pandemic, even though the schools have done their utmost to support our students throughout this period. We believe the designation of ESSER III funds to the areas we enumerate are appropriate and essential to help recover from the serious impacts of the pandemic. Thank you for this opportunity to share the Moses perspective tonight.
Sean Koval.
Right. Good evening. As the Healthy Kids Collaborative's Healthy Schools Coordinator and longtime partner of the district, I want to start by sharing my gratitude for those who have worked so hard to prepare this wellness policy. So thank you, Dr. Jenkins, Cedric Hodo, and your staff for all you've done to support children's health through this policy and other work. Board members, all of you have made time to connect with our coalition of students, staff, families, and partners. Thank you also for asking for more community input to be included in the policy when it first came before the work group last month. And a massive thank you to Ashley Riley, who's worked so hard to write this policy. Thank you, Ashley. I'm a passionate supporter of this wellness policy. Overall, it's strong and comprehensive. Yet I registered in opposition again to the policy in its current form. We have just a little bit more work to do, and that is why I'm asking the board to pass an amendment tonight to include one small change that will make a great impact, including guidelines around the installation and placement of water bottle filling stations in newly constructed and majorly renovated buildings. We already have so much to be proud of around water access. The board and staff worked together this spring to approve ESSER funds to install filling stations in all of our schools. That's a big win. After last month's work group meeting, you took the next steps towards ensuring equitable water access by adding language that guarantees all students can carry refillable water bottles. Another win. We've gone so far, we're almost there, but our work is not done. Adding placement guidelines represents the finish line to ensuring equitable water access for all students in all schools for years to come. The guidelines are from the American Heart Association and are considered a national standard. Other districts have implemented them with great success. You've heard from the community that they are important. District staff have told us that they are achievable and they are cost neutral for the near future and very minimal moving forward. One thing we've heard is that such guidelines may be better suited for the procedures section. However, there are other parts of this policy where there are specific guidelines that have been included. For example, recess minutes are specifically outlined, as are seated lunchtime minutes. Water as a human and student need belongs alongside these. It would be consistent with the draft policy to add these guidelines in the policy section. Please trust the abundance of community input you've heard from stakeholders across the stakeholder spectrum in support of this small but crucial addition. Of the dozens of written comments and appearances about the wellness policy before tonight in work group meetings, 97% have centered around equitable water access in schools. 100% of these comments have been in support of the water bottle filling allowance and these filling station guidelines. They're designed to accompany one another. That's compelling data. Combined with the extensive body of medical research around the benefits of hydration for learning, this makes this addition a win-win-win. Let's follow the science, let's be data-driven, let's trust the community input, and let's make MMSD a leader in equitable water access by passing this amendment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just add that we had quite a few people that tried to register virtually tonight that had spoken at previous work group meetings that got error messages. At least 5 people contacted me. So just to alert you guys that there might be an issue. They're getting a timed out or you've already registered. And I'll let you guys know they were all trying to log in between 5 and 6. So we were disappointed that more of our coalition wasn't able to speak virtually tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. I want to address that immediately. So I'm going to ask that we recess for 5 minutes and come back so I can talk to Jesse about making sure that those 5 people get the opportunity to speak tonight. We'll take a 5-minute break, y'all. I know it's a bunch of people. I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Education to order. Folks, if you are having a conversation, I'm going to ask you to exit so that we can continue the meeting. I move that the Board of Education approve the minutes from the regular meeting dated July 25th, 2022.
Second.
Yana, your advisory vote?
Yes, I approve.
All those in favor, aye. Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'm sorry, I don't think see Sabian.
Approve of the minutes, Sabian.
I'm sorry, I missed your vote, Sabian.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries 7-0. I don't think we need to. Celebrating our students, we have news from around the district. Hayden Smith, an 8th grade student at Toki Middle School, is a blue belt in karate, Hockey player, social activist. In 2021, he broke 7 national records in swimming at the Move United Junior Nationals, an affiliate of the U.S. Olympics and Paralympics Committee. Hayden is a finalist for the United Spinal Association Strong Wheeled Together Award, presented to those living with spinal cord injuries and disorders who are advancing their abilities to reach new levels of success. In the youth leadership category, his YouTube video submission is one of only 3 remaining finalists. The video with the most likes will receive a $5,000 continue to continue to pursue their goals. Celebrating our staff, October is National Principal Month. We extend our appreciation, gratitude, our dedication to our dedicated school principals for their leadership, commitment to the entire MMSD community. Please join us in thanking and celebrating our school administrators next month. Celebrating our community. In MMSD, all belong here. Welcome and value diversity of our community. Therefore, the board would like to acknowledge National Coming Out Day, October 11th, in support of our LGBTQIA+ students, staff, families, and community members. In MMSD, you are loved, you are seen, you are supported. Finally, the board would like to recognize the contribution, life, and legacy of Joanne Finley Elder, a former MMSD school board member who passed away on August 25th. Miss Elder served on the board from April 1998 to 2001 and was a member of the Superintendent's Human Relations Committee and worked to bring awareness of the LGBTQ+ issues into our schools. I'd like to ask that folks take a moment of silence to recognize the life, legacy, and contribution of former board member Joanne Finley Elder.
I believe there's music playing.
Yeah, I can hear it too.
Awesome. Yeah.
It seems like it's coming through a speaker.
I want to thank you for taking a moment of silence to recognize the life and contribution of Joanne Elder, former board member. We are working to resolve a sound issue. We'll now hear the superintendent's announcements unless Dr. Jenkins, you want us to pause and see if we can resolve the musical accompaniment.
It wasn't nice.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Jenkins. Thank you.
Okay, Chair Muldrow, the board members, thank you so much. Tonight has been very special. We've heard a lot of comments from our community. We really do appreciate that. And I really do appreciate you taking time to hear during public comment as well. But tonight, we want to kind of get into what's going on around the district in a different kind of way. Our special videographer that we have and some of the photos, we want to share those tonight. So let's get ready to go into that, just if you would, and then I'll go with my comments later.
Joy. Joy. Happiness. Yeah. It's all those emotions that you just want so much when you come to a job like this.
We are at Orchard School.
Best part, being with these guys. Coming to school, having them say, oh, Mr. Key, Mr. Key. I don't know, I love that.
We kind of work hard because the teachers are really nice. Yeah, I'm Mr. Strong and I'm his sidekick. I love about Orchard, my friend.
I love this job. I've been at Orchard Ridge for 15 years now, and every single day I wake up and love the smiles and the joy that I'm going to bring to the other students in my classroom. I don't know. I love kids and I love working with them, and when they experience success in what they're doing, there's nothing other than that.
Oh my goodness, it's the kids, the families, the other staff members. It's just so amazing being able to make those connections and really feel like you're a part of the community.
Oh, just the fact that I can come to work and make a difference every day. Just to see these kids smile and just go home happy and come back feeling the same way. It's just a blessing.
You know, I've never been outside of MMSD, and I'm happy here. Like, there are a lot of really amazing people and students in this district, and Orchard Ridge has been my home, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be than with these kids in this community. I'm Kayla Sewing. I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Orchard Ridge Elementary, and we are
respectful, responsible, and safe.
We are MMSD.
We are MMSD.
And we are MMSD.
We are MMSD. I'll show you, Julia. We are MMSD. We are MMSD. We are MMSD.
Just wanted to remind the board and all of our community, this is why we do what we do. The presentation tonight is just going around the district really fast. And we just want to show you some of our students and some of our staff, how they're engaged, and just the little ones here. If you look at, it's just amazing stopping in at the school and talking to our students and talking to our staff. We so appreciated everything too that everyone brought tonight. This is the community that's concerned about its public education, our children, just all of our well-being. So we appreciate hearing the comments. We'll just, next slide, please. Talking about some of the wonderful students and wonderful staff that we had. This year we brought in like 574 new staff. We had a record high vacancies, over 600, nearly 71. When we look at this right here, you see the happy faces, new people coming in. You see some of our veterans up there too, connecting with some of our students. I tell you, that's the really the fastest wheelchair. I think I've seen the most hydraulic there when I was over there with the student at one of our elementary schools showing around at Lakeview. And he was just quite sharp. We really enjoyed our time with that particular student as well. Next slide. As you can see, we're trying to hear the voices of our students. And as you can see, I wear my medallion. We did the land acknowledgement. I thank the board for what you've done. In terms of that, I got a call from Wyoming about us doing the land acknowledgement. Someone saying that was pretty special. And how do we do what we do? What do we do? And I just shared that. But you see the students too, two students, when I go out, those two students of ours, Marina Fox and Aisha Saeed, when they said they're not seen as Native Americans in our community, in our curriculum, in our schools. And so when I was gifted with this during our land acknowledgement, I still wear it all the time. I have it on tonight. In fact, not even thinking about the presentation. But as you can see, those students are asking about it. They want to touch it. This is made of beads. And one of our very own social workers gave it to me, and Shea, and I'm very proud to wear that too. As we know, we are on Ho-Chunk's land. You see the students so curious. I love that picture. The three students there, they were listening to the teacher. As you heard from the Senate staff, students this year are engaged. You go around. It's my hope by the end of next week, I would have been in all 52 schools. And we have a lot of schools, a lot of things going on, a lot of people traveling, and we still have some challenges. We are coming out of the pandemic. We're not fully out. COVID is still alive and well, but you can see now we have masks highly recommended, and we wear them in some spaces we don't, personal choice, but the smiles this year, it's just electrified all of the schools as I'm going around. So the energy, I was just so excited to be at Sherman because we spent time last year at Sherman. I was excited to be at La Follette, excited to go to East, just all over our district, as we see here with a lot of our students. And we had a meeting, top right-hand corner there, with our students as we're planning our multicultural summit in conjunction with Madison 365, a multicultural summit. And I'm telling you, if you would have heard some of those students, things they're putting on the table, everything, when you start talking about the water coolers, you start talking about the cell phones, you start talking about students' voice, all of this is a part of these discussions that we're having. We stopped over at Toki Middle School, Orchard Ridge, and you see the students there. They were so excited, and we had a chance to stop in Ms. Vasquez's class, Mr. Goldman's class, Ms. Christie. We had a chance to go in her class. I tell you, just you have to go with us to feel the energy in our district this year. Totally different from last year. So I totally agree. Next slide, there, please. But what we know, our staff makes us what we are. We heard from a lot of them tonight. They are special. We have special staff. You heard at the beginning of the other video. People are just very excited. They've been here a long time. They're making it happen. I really want to thank you as a board for having the courage to make the $5 move. That was impactful. I go out, and the individuals, they've not only sent emails, but they're saying it. Individual lives have been changed, and they worked hard, and they deserve it. So I just want to thank you because you had the courage. That was a unanimous vote that you had up here, and that sent a message throughout our community. I personally have recruited 19 people to be applying for jobs out of Walmart, out of Walgreens, Quick Trip, wherever they are. You know what I'm saying? Hey, come work for us. Am I talking with food service? We've hired now, I think up to 11 individuals more, and we're getting better with the lunches because I tell you a couple of weeks ago, the lunches really were the main thing. A fourth grader told me, say, hey, Dr. Jenkins, we have to work on this. so you ever been held accountable by a fourth grader? That's pretty serious. And then likewise, when I was back in elementaries last Friday, I think that was the first time we had, not last Friday, I think a little bit before that, we had the chicken nuggets again, we had the balanced meal, and the students said, now this is what I was expecting, you know, and then so last week, I think we had meatloaf or something like that. But the students are letting us know it's getting better, okay? But here in this picture, you see that we were really fortunate to be the district that our own governor wanted to share the big news of sharing some resources with all, with DPI for all the schools, and we are recipients of, I did about $2.4 million as we know it for helping us with staffing shortages, other things that we may want to do, retaining staff as well, recruiting, just so many things. They just left it wide open for us. And then we're also going to begin the mental health support. But you see the picture up in the top, not only young person there to the left, but also you see the red, MTI and the school board members and administration. That's what we want to do. All of us working together all the time and having happy moments. But I just tell you that picture on the right, one of our staffers having a chance to talk to you all. I say it again, just thank you. You just have really made a big difference. Next, the final. But here, we've been out in our community, the Latino chambers. We've been going everywhere, really and truly. We were at the State of the District address by Dr. Underly. Did a fabulous job. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. A lot of the things that we're looking to do in our district align directly with the state superintendent. She spoke clearly, strongly about how we're going to be about diversity throughout, for real, how she has our back when we start doing our culturally relevant pedagogy, what she means when she talks about all students, our students who are receiving services for disabilities, and how we are to be there and support all of our students with different languages, everything. So I was very proud to be there with a number of other individuals. We've also been telling our story on the news, as you can see, one of our local there, telling our story of MMSD. And this year is about connections, but also putting our story out there, the wonderful things happening. You also see at the football game, it's been some great games out there, and a number of you too have had an opportunity to go out. But here we are right now. The Madison Public School Foundation is in the bottom right-hand corner. We've had an opportunity to go out and talk about how we're going to get other support. Just wanted to share this. This is what's going on in our community. Many other meetings, many other things, and we were together, Chris and I together last night at another foundation meeting. Thank you. That was about early literacy and beyond. Thorough early literacy and beyond commitment has just been phenomenal. I thank all of you for joining us out in the community, and I look forward to our Friday meetings where we go out, Chair Muldrow and I, to the schools and connect again on that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that report to the board, Dr. Jenkins. We'll get reports on items that proceeded through the instruction work group held on September 6, 2022 from board member Castro.
Thank you so much, board chair. So on September 6th, we held our instruction work group. There we received a health services update, relevant matrix on COVID and our school communities. We talked about our strategies and goals and intentions for culture and climate and day one readiness for our first month of school. We talked about co-curriculars and had an update on the Summer Arts Academy and kind of what we want to do to expand the importance of arts curriculum in the future. Our next meeting will be October 3rd, 2022. There we will receive another health services update. We will receive an update on and an opportunity to give input and feedback on our strategy regarding universal practices to address social and emotional learning, such as social emotional learning, curriculum development, restorative justice, and welcoming schools. We will receive an update on the academic plan, primarily regarding high school coursework and advanced coursework, and the strategic framework recalibration. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all on October 3rd.
We'll now hear items that proceeded through the operations work group held on September 12th, 2022 from board member Gomez Schmidt.
Thank you, President Muldrow. To start off the operations work group meeting on the 12th, Dr. Jenkins gave us an update on the funds that we received from Governor Evers, who has provided an extra investment in K-12 education. MMSD received $2.4 million and an additional $370,000 for the Kids Get Ahead mental health initiative. Ross McPherson provided an update on our annual cash flow borrowing that we will vote on tonight. This tax revenue anticipation note bid today And the information is available in board docs. The short-term borrowing cycle that happens every year allows us to bridge the gap in our expenses and revenues for the first half of the fiscal year and is paid off in the second half of the fiscal year. So this is something that we do on an annual basis. We discussed updates to policy 4610, the wellness policy. The additional updates that were done since our last meeting and that Ashley explained have brought the rating of our policy to 95 for comprehensiveness and a 62 or 66, a 60 somewhere for strength based on the WellSat scoring table for our wellness policies. And as we've heard tonight, we've had an incredible amount of engagement around specific language around water access. I just want to acknowledge that we did add specific language regarding water bottles and filling stations for new construction and major renovations since the last time we saw this policy. And also just wanted to note that we have already invested $800,000 to add water bottle filling stations in many schools across the district. We will be voting on this policy tonight. Mr. Cedric Hodo and his team provided an update of our facilities construction at our 6 building sites and our 4 comprehensive high schools, Capitol High School and the new Southside Elementary. Incredible progress is made over the summer and will continue through this school year, and regular updates will be coming back to the board and the community. We had a conversation about policy 4403, possession of personal electronic device. We received some information from our student board representative, Joanna, about her survey of students and their feedback on cell phone use during school hours. And further work on this policy will proceed through the instruction work group as we're approaching this work from the lens of creating positive and engaging learning environments. Our next meeting of the operations work group is Monday, October 10th. And on our agenda mainly will be our final discussion of the 2022-23 budget that has been in development since January. Ross McPherson will have final adjustments calculated and ready for the board vote at the end of October.
There are no action items that moved through the instruction work group this month. There are 2 action items that moved through the operations work group held on September 12th. Board Member Gomez-Schmidt, would you like to read the motions for those action items?
Would you like me to, or you can? Go ahead.
Either way works for me. I'm happy to read them. I move that the Board of Education approve I move that the Board of Education approve the changes to Board Policy 4610 Wellness as set forth in the materials prepared for the September 28th, 2022 regular meeting with said revisions to take effect immediately. Second, Board Member Gomez-Schmidt. Any conversation? Board Member Vandermeulen.
Like that, and amending the motion on the floor. And state as healthy and with teachers are.
Board Member Vandermeulen, I'm going to ask you to turn on your mic. I'm also going to ask you to move to amend.
I move to amend the current motion on the floor for policy 4610, section 4, nutrition service and environment, subsection 4, the drinking water access section. I would delete in accordance with building services developed plan for such filling station and replace it with the following. Minimum of 1 water bottle filling station for 200 building occupants. A minimum of 1 water bottle filling station on each floor in Wingham School Building. A minimum of 1 water bottle filling station near all school food service areas. A minimum of 1 water bottle filling station in or near the gymnasium, outdoor recreation areas and other high traffic areas, and water bottle filling stations that will be cooled and filtered. We've heard this from our community and the American Heart Association. It is for that reason that I bring forth this amendment at this time.
I'll second. Any discussion? Board Member Pearson. Yeah, is there a reason why we want to have it cold and filtered? Because from my understanding is that the water filling stations are already filtered and should be refrigerated based off of. So I don't know if it's a redundant point to put in there, but I don't know if someone wants to speak to why or
What I,
how we want to
if I may,
Board Member Vandermeulen?
I had heard from several parents. Sorry about that. I wasn't trying to play smooth that jazz, but it was kind of interesting for a while. But anyway, I had heard from several parents, but also from several students that the water at the filling station in the middle of the day gets kind of warm and kind of yucky. So I didn't know how to say yucky in any legal manner other than cold and filtered.
And then I just have one more question. I know that if we choose to vote with the amendment and it does get passed, what the implications would be for our current schools budgetarily, how much would it cost? Because the specifications are, you know, at least 5 or 6 mandatory minimum in certain areas, like how much it would actually cost to do that. And I don't know, Ross, if you know, or if Cedric, if you know, or someone can answer that question.
Hello. What we can do is provide a basis overview if you would like me to do that. I can circle back with our team and get the specific amounts. There's some very, I think, tough measures to uphold when you say near. A lot of the questions are subjective. We'll need to clarify what that is, but I'll be more than welcome to get the board some detailed numbers. Give me some time.
By near, I mean less than 100 feet.
It's subjective. It's a lot more attached to that. There are water lines, electrical lines.
I didn't think of that good point.
The construction piece to it, it is so subjective, and that is the sticking point for us. We can put them anywhere you want, but there's a cost to that. And if you want me to do a detailed analysis around that, then we should probably have a further discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I have heard from the community and spoke to a few people about it in support for the changes. And I guess I'll just like right now, I will, I guess, explain like my position on this. I think, you know, previously I've mentioned like water is life, and I still firmly believe that. I think when you start to get into the nuances of placement, I think that it creates it becomes a little more difficult then. And then you start to put in how much does that cost, especially when we're right now in budget constraints. I want to support some of the pieces of the amendment, but not fully as stated by Board Member Vandermeulen. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I support some parts of it. And I guess I can say which ones I do. The 200 per building occupants, I think is a no-brainer because that doesn't necessarily require placement, but more so that there is access, at least in the school building. As far as the ones on the floors as well, I support that. The tricky part is the filling stations near food service areas. On principle, I understand that one. However, when we start to get into, okay, where is the food? Like, is it near where children are eating in the cafeteria? Does it matter if it's like actually near the actual stations that food is being served? There are some times when food service happens in the classroom when we had COVID, so it becomes a little more trickier. And then also with the filling stations near the gymnasium, that also is a pretty no-brainer as well, to have those right there so children can have access. But again, for me, it's also the financial piece of like, some of our schools are extremely old.
and trying to figure out, I know we're going to look to update them even more so in the future. It might be some time, but I don't want to pigeonhole us into the point where we become so specific that almost at that point, if we are not in compliance, and how that might actually come against us. Although we were trying to be on the forefront and trying to push and make sure water access was there. So I don't want to get in a catch-29, but that's where I'm at.
I have two people before you. Okay. Board Member Simpkin.
Thank you. I have appreciated all of the input that we've received, and during the very first time that I met with the group advocating for water access, I said, oh, this is a no-brainer. Of course, we all want our children to have access to water, and that is absolutely true. I also appreciate that we are doing quite well in most cases around water access already. I appreciate also the pieces in the wellness policy that have been added to allow children to carry water bottles at all times. And I would not support the amendment because I believe that that type of detail makes more sense being in a building plan rather than being in the policy itself. I think that there's a lot of moments in which you might say, but what if we put it in the policy, that makes it very difficult to actually completely fulfill the policy with that level of detail. I agree in principle to those ideas, and I think we just need to allow ourselves enough flexibility to work with each individual building to be able to make it happen, which means not putting that level of detail in the policy.
Thank you, Board Member Simpkin. Board Member Gomez Schmidt, and then I have Board Member Vandermeulen, and I'll add myself to the staff.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge also that I've heard the community call for our district to be dedicated to promoting water access and ensuring that we provide greater water access in our schools. And I agree. And we've been working on this goal. And thus far, as I said earlier, we've invested over $800,000 to add water bottle filling stations in many district buildings. And we are intending for that work to continue. It feels to me that the sticking point on this is we're talking about the specificity of placement and the number of water bottle filling stations per student. The question is where does that belong? Does that belong in the policy, or does it belong in the procedure or the implementation guidelines? And when I looked at the American Heart Association policy recommendations at the national level, it did state that that local school wellness policy should include policies to provide water along with implementation guidance in order to support schools in meeting USDA Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act and beyond. And so to me, I think the problem we're having here is that we know there's a procedure piece that is going to go with the policy piece, and we don't have that yet. And so my question is when will the procedures be ready that are supposed to be accompanying this policy? And I know that Ashley is working on this, and Ashley, I appreciate all the work that you've done and put into the policy. But we don't have a draft of the procedures or a final product or anything. So I guess my question is when are we going to see that, to be able to see the specificity in the procedure document, in the guidelines, or in the building plans? Like, where do we see that written, and how is that transparent to the community?
Not ready. Can you hear me? We are in. Oh, can you hear me now? We are in the process of working on the procedures that accompany the policy. Our goal is to have that completed at the end of October. We are working with the cross-functional teams that all have contributed to the policy. There's pieces that we were able to lift out of one of the original drafts of the policy that is in the procedures, but our goal is to have it completed at the end of October.
So would that include guidelines around placement or what we're looking for, more specificity around water bottle filling stations, or the goal we're working towards to, we've already done a lot of work. That's what I don't want, like, the narrative to get missed here, is we have done an incredible amount of work. And Mr. Hodo, you have a chart of how many we've already installed, and it's over 300 across the district. And still working, to replace the old water stations. or
Absolutely. Yeah.
fountains.
To the board members, I know this is very high on Dr. Jenkins' list. He's given us a directive. He wants us to find a path to complete it. We went on a very aggressive plan this year where we put in over 300 games. We have roughly around 41 more to go that are the porcelain older ones we're getting rid of first. And then we also have the referendum water stations coming online. We have met the threshold according to our industry standards, which was 100 occupants per water filling stations. Water filling stations are filtered and chilled. And so we've made significant progress this year. I think the board should at least know that. In our future plans, just to give you an idea, it's roughly around 3,000 per water station. Even at best case scenarios, when you're going in the walls, asbestos, and things of that nature, there's some factors we simply can't figure out or determine until we go in that route. What I would recommend is we continue with our long-range plan, give you a detailed analysis of what we can do progressively along the way. And I think as I can incorporate it into our future budget, long-range planning, I think that might be the path to get us where we got to go. We are very close. I want to let the board know that this is important. I do agree. Having access to water is critical, and they should, and we agree on this together. I think it's about finding the necessary funds to get it done as quickly as possible. Our team is working extremely hard. This was a tough project to undertake in 1 year's time, but building services team has done an amazing job in getting us where we are now. So rest assured, it is in our plans. We're trying to work as fast as possible. I just need to know the guidelines and the amount. That's it.
May I ask one more question? We're hearing about lines at water bottle filling stations, and I think it's especially at the high schools. Is that due to the construction and things going on? I'm guessing that until we complete the referendum projects in 2 years, all of those is the time frame 2 years to install those so they're ready to go in the.
Absolutely. So they're coming online as in phases. And so what you're seeing now is as we go through the construction phase, and I think I've given you the list. If you want to share with the board, we're more than welcome to get that out to you. But we'll have ample amounts in our schools. It's just that we're under construction and we're doing it now. So there may be a line. We do agree with that. But more boiler stations will come on as we continue throughout the instruction. I think it's a minimum 18, I think, throughout the high schools or more. And so I'm confident that we'll meet the threshold. It's just going to take time to do it.
Thank you.
Board Member Vandermeulen, did you want me to go first or you want to speak now? Okay. Board Member Pearson?
Yeah, just before, what is our largest population of schools right now? Like the school that has a 700? West High School has the most, but how many students this year? I guess I haven't checked the numbers at the beginning of the school year. 2,300. And you said it's like $3,000 per water filling station?
Mike McDonald, I think, is online. If Mike's online, our mechanical engineer, he can give me the specific amounts if he's online. If not, then we'll circle back and get the consolidated quote for you based upon how many more stations we have.
Yeah, I'm here, Cedric. So yeah, it really depends if it's new construction or renovation, but the unit itself is about 1,500. And installation is anywhere from a total of 3,000 to 5,000 per unit.
Okay, thank you. I just did some quick math, and it's, don't hold me to it, but it's just really quick, just so we kind of get a snapshot of what that might look like. So at a school like West, if we take the population of this year, divide that by the 200 that we're saying at least one minimum for every 200 occupants and students alone, that'd be about 11 filling stations at $3,000, 11 and a half, 12, which means that it'd be about like $20,000 or $34,000, a little more than that. So that's just at one school. And that's the largest population of schools. So just so that people kind of like monetarily can see the number in their mind. Again, very rough math based off like the conversation that we had, not exact. So yeah, that's what I wanted just to ask. But I can make you want to talk first and then I can make.
Yeah, so I'll say. Board Member Vandermeulen.
I would request, oh, right, sorry, smooth jazz, I forgot. Sorry. What I was planning on saying is I'd be willing to get rid of the cool and filtered water bottles since they're already there. It's duplicative. A minute and a minimum of one water bottle filling station near all school food service areas, mainly because Maya's point on COVID is an excellent one of there are times kids have to eat at their desk. There are times that don't have to. If I remove those, I would ask to amend my motion that is on the floor. If that helps the chair.
Thank you, Board Member Vandermeulen. Sherry, I saw you.
I believe you have to make a vote on the First Amendment, and then we can make another. That is the language that's on the floor at this time.
So Nikki has the ability to withdraw the amendment because she's the person who created the.
Right, she can withdraw it.
So do you want to withdraw the amendment and create a different amendment?
I withdraw the First Amendment. I create a second amendment that states in policy 4610, section 4, nutrition services and environment, subsection 4, drinking water access. Delete the line in accordance with building service developed plans for such filling stations in place with the following guidelines. Minimum of one water bottle filling station per 200 occupants. Minimum of one water bottle filling station on each floor and wing of a school building, and a minimum of one water bottle filling station in or near the gymnasium, outdoor rec spaces, and other high traffic areas.
I'll second.
Thank you, Board Member Pearson.
Just a quick note, Board Member Vandermeulen, we're already at minimum of 100, and that's the industry standard. We're already at that. So to put it back toward 200, not quite sure we should go that route. That's less water stations.
So I really appreciate you pointing that out. I similarly had that problem with this amendment, particularly because we have several schools. It's one thing to talk about West High School and what the 200 threshold means for West High School. But for a school like Shabazz that doesn't have 200 students, or a school like Badger Rock that doesn't have 200 students, what does that mean for how we are providing water to them? So that is, kind of my first difficulty with the amendment. But I do want to start by saying, more importantly, how grateful I am to our community for showing up to talk about the necessity of hydration for our students, and how much I appreciate the work that Board Member Gomez-Schmidt and the folks who have worked on the wellness policy, including Board Member Castro, on the work of Cedric Odom, and the entire team that has come together to be really thoughtful and deliberate in this policy. The other thing I think is that what we're really trying to get at is a policy that is as strong and as transparent as possible. And I think the most important thing a body of governance does is pass policy. Administrations come and go, board members come and go, policy sticks around. And so making this policy strong ensures the long-term success of our students, ensures that we, have a commitment in this moment that means something for generations and well into the future, and allows us to invest strategically. And so my only issue with the amendment is the 200 occupant threshold. I in part think the word occupant is actually not how we usually refer to the population in our buildings. So that to me is strange. And also the threshold of 200 gets us further away from where we are right now. I think one of the most relevant questions we could ask, since you did just say we're at about 1 per 100, is how many stations do we already have in our schools?
I can just give a quick clarification. This is Mike. The International Building Code is where the 100 number comes from, and that's a point of use water fixture. It's not a filling station. So that's, everything in the offices, gyms, classrooms, the whole school. So that's what the code requirement is. And then our policy might be 200 if we'd want every single one to be switched to a filling station.
So I hear what you're saying in terms of kind of talking us through, the difference between water filling stations and any sink in our buildings, right? Is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, sink with a bubbler on it, right?
Sink with a bubbler. Okay. And if I ask how many across the 53 sites and schools that are MMSD, how many water filling stations do we already have?
315, and that's in our main corridors in all the buildings.
I feel like this is pretty quick math, but to get to that 1 per 100 or 1 per 200, how many more would we need?
We're there already with what we have in each building for filling stations.
Yes, I think it's to your point. 313 is completed. We have 106 that will be complete as of the referendum. And then we have 40 more retrofits for the porcelain, the older ones that may require electricity demo.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's not actually a problem to have the 200 occupant threshold because we exceed that and it doesn't damage our approach to our schools that have less than 200 students because they already have water filling stations. Is that correct? Okay. I don't have any further questions, and I very much appreciate the work folks have done and the folks who came to the meeting tonight to speak to this. I am in favor of giving this the strongest language and the most transparent language possible within reason. Board Member Nichols.
Yes, I also want to thank just the ongoing months of work to make this policy as strong as it is, and for the ongoing engagement with many of our community members, the public comments, the letters, all of that has been really valuable to hear how important this policy is. And here, and I talked with Sean Koval earlier today, so thank you for your leadership and advocacy. And here's where I have been kind of thinking about this. As I look at the language right now, what it seems is the last portion of the sentence that says water bottle filling stations installed in accordance with building services developed plans seems to be the issue, because there's strong recognition for many of the other things that have made it into this policy. And it's the reference to building services developed plans that seems to be, I guess, the part of the water access that maybe still feels less transparent or kind of unknowable. So my wondering is if, and this is, I haven't got this in a new amendment language, I'm just thinking out loud. My wondering is if we replaced the building services developed plans with something like water bottle filling stations installed in accordance with the American Heart Association's recommendations for wellness policies, then maybe we don't have to add all the specificity that is coming in through the amendment, but gives us a standard to meet or exceed. And I'm saying that because when we look at some of the other language around the standards that we are going to meet and exceed, we don't give, we reference USDA's smart snacks, but we're not listing 5 carrots, 4 celery sticks, you know what I mean, like, and 800 calories. Like, we're not that specific, but we are referencing a standard that we need to meet. So to me, if these recommendations around placement are coming from the American Heart Association or some other body that gives us a standard to meet or exceed in terms of placement and how our students and staff can actually access water, then I think we should reference that in the last sentence as kind of the standard to meet. And then building services can work within that.
Board Member Nichols, are you offering an alternative amendment or a friendly amendment to Board Member Vandermeulen's amendment?
Well, Sherry would say there is no such thing as a friendly amendment. So if we need to take action on the first amendment that's on the floor, we can do that. And then I could try to,
Depends on
yes.
if it passes. Right?
Yep, exactly.
Or I could withdraw it and accept, or I could withdraw it and accept it with Michelle's language if I so choose. Correct,
So
Sharon?
Board Member Vandermeulen, you can absolutely do that. I want to ask specifically, are you withdrawing and then proposing another amendment?
Yes,
Are you asking Michelle to do that, or are you doing that with Michelle's language?
I'm doing that with Michelle's language on that last sentence with the American Heart Association.
All right.
Is that doable, Sharon?
Can you state that you're withdrawing and then state the full motion so that everyone is clear what they're voting?
I formally withdraw the motion. Michelle, can you read?
Yes. All right, I move to strike in section 4, letter F.
In accordance with building.
Yes, in accordance with building services developed plans
For such filling stations.
and for such filling stations and replace with in accordance with the American Heart Association's recommendations on water access, the placement, I don't know. Okay, now, see, this is why we don't do these things on the floor. Go ahead, Chris, you have a. Let me, I need to pull it together.
So I feel like you can pause.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the challenging thing of where we're at right now is that I'm like, you've withdrawn your motion, you've moved, but the amendment is not complete.
Correct.
So right now, the original motion is the only thing on the floor, what
Okay.
we're discussing. So that being said, I'll come back to you. Board Member Gomez Schmidt.
I think if you're going to reference those guidelines, you have to know that there is somewhere where those numbers live that you can find and they live within the guidelines. So when I was looking at the American Heart Association policy recommendations from 2015, it did not have that level of specificity of guidance, that 1 per 200. It's not in there. It's like a guideline to work towards, but I'm not sure where it lives. So it doesn't, I don't know what you would be referencing that we would then put in the policy to click on to find that level of specificity. If it lives in there, you just have to know the name of it, but is that, I'm looking at the folks in the audience and they're kind of nodding. So I don't think that level of specificity lives in the American Heart Association
Okay, I
policy
withdraw that.
recommendations.
I withdraw.
Of course. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with you. It's just myself. Okay. Board Member Vandermeulen.
Section 4, nutrition services and environment, subsection F, drinking water access. Removed in accordance with village services, develop planners, such filling stations, replace with minimum one water bottle filling station for 200 filling access. With also minimum one water bottle filling station for a wing of the school building. And then one water bottle filling station in or near the stadium, outdoor recreation space, and other on-premise areas.
I'll second.
Second, Board Member Pearson. Any further discussion? Board Member Gomez Schmidt.
Thank you. I want to go back to the policy versus procedure part before we vote on this, right? One thing I want to recognize is that in addition to this very specific language around water access, we have a whole lot of other procedures that are going to fit in with this, from nutrition to recess to all these things. And so what I don't want to lose is this procedure part coming back to us. Because I think when we are going through and updating policies, we are going to have the policy and the procedure and administrative guidelines side by side, hopefully, as we're doing these, so that it's transparent what lives in which piece, right? So what I want to recommend is that this return to the board, the procedure piece, once they have it in place, and review and discuss as a test case for the work of updating policy and ensuring that the implementation guidance is also transparent and accessible. So if we can do that piece and coming back, I don't think it has to be amendment. I just want to make sure that going forward, we see that coming back to us. And
Board
there's-
Member Gomez Schmidt, I'd like to ask you to direct that at a member of the administration so that what you're asking, we can confirm we'll receive. So who are you directing that request at, and how do you want it to be fulfilled?
I'm going to direct that to Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you. That's all right. All right.
So we'll see that back in November
Yes.
if it's ready by the end of October.
Yeah, no, Board Member Gomez Smith, definitely, and just briefly and thinking through it, we do have to have a timeline for it, so November would more than likely be appropriate. Let me get back to my team, and we'll come back to the board and share with you how we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Board Member Gomez Schmidt, is that what you're looking for? All right, Board Member Pearson.
I'm sorry to keep asking questions. Sherry, I just have a question. So if we implement this as is, as Board Member Vandermeulen mentioned, and if there are parts where we are technically not compliant because this is immediately, is there any kind of ramifications?
No, this policy doesn't have any discipline standards associated with it, so it'll just take effect when we become compliant, I'm assuming. Because it's aspirational, we're not there yet.
Okay, that's all.
I'm going to call the question. Joanna, your advisory vote. Oh, I'm sorry. You actually have your hand up. Joanna?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't really hear what Board Member Vandermeulen said at the end because, like, whatever was playing on the meeting, like, overpowered what she was saying. So if someone could repeat what she said, thank you. Sorry about that.
I had just reread the, what the motion was. Would you like me to reread it?
Yes, please.
If I may, Chair.
Yeah, she's got to be able to vote on it.
That's what I thought. Policy 4610, Section 4, Nutrition Services and Environment, subsection F, drinking water access. We would delete in accordance with building services, develop plans for such filling stations. Replace with and placed according to the following guidelines. A minimum of one water bottle filling station per 200 building occupants. A minimum of one water bottle filling stations on each floor and wing of a school building. And a minimum of one water bottle filling station in or near the gymnasium, outdoor recreation services, and other high traffic areas.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Joanna, your advisory vote.
Yes.
Board Member Castro,
Aye.
Board Member Pearson, Board Member Gomez Schmidt,
Nay.
Board Member Vandermeulen, Board Member Simkin,
Nay.
Board Member Nichols,
Nay.
Board Member Muldrow, aye. Motion carries 4-3. I move that the Board of Education award the tax revenue anticipation note to the lowest bidder, JP Morgan Securities LLC, for a total of $50 million at the total net interest cost of $1,400,055.56. Net interest rate of 3.31%.
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Commissioner. Any discussion? All right. Joanna, your advisory vote?
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. I move that the Board of Education approve all the motions set forth in section 10 of the electronic agenda prepared for the September 28th, 2022 regular school board meeting, exactly as said motions are written. By voting affirmatively on this motion, a board member expresses his, her, or their affirmative vote on each of the motions consolidated hereby, subject to any express separations that have been made by any member of the school board. Thank you, Board Member Vandermeulen. Any discussion? Any separations? Board Member Gomez Schmidt.
Yes, 10.13, 10.18, and 10.23.
Any further discussion or separation? Thank you. There's no further discussion or separations. We'll vote on the original motion and then on the separated items. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Joanna, your advisory vote? Motion carries 7-0. I move that the Board of Education approve a contract to increase the current amount from $175,000 to $400,000. My apologies. Can I go back to it? I'm gonna make it through consent agenda and then go back to wellness. My apologies for that, y'all. I move that the Board of Education approve a contract increase from the amount of $175,000 to $400,000 to Pearson to purchase curriculum that will support both Madison Promise Online School and course enrollment at our middle and high schools for the 2022-2023 school year using funding from the 2022-2023 Virtual Learning Program ESSER 3 budget. Second, Board Member Vandermeulen, thank you so much. Board Member Gomez Schmidt.
Yes, I pulled this just to ask a question. I think I'm recognizing Dr. McCray is coming up to answer the question, but just recognizing that we expanded the grades and I'm guessing the numbers of students shifted compared to last year, and recognizing the challenge of figuring out which courses students need as you're building a program. I'm just curious, at what point will the amount of what we need when we invest in something like Pearson, is that a one-time investment that we have a course built, or is it something that we need to come back to every year to redo the investment?
So I think I understand your question. So it would be every year because we don't own the course.
Okay.
So it's almost like we're renting the course. So at the end of the year, then next year we need to rent the course again. So that answer your question?
Yeah.
Because my staff is not building the courses. They're facilitating the courses from Pearson. And so every year we have to, now what we would have to do is almost like build a course, but it literally take a year for you to build one course. And so that means we will need to start now building one course for next year. So that's why we're written the courses.
Okay. And you wouldn't necessarily know what you need for next year because you don't know which students would be enrolled in what courses they would need.
Well, actually, because of the way we did it from last year, this year, we do. The purpose for this increase is solely to support right now the issues that we're having with the lack of the teachers in the high school courses, in the middle school sections. So because of what we did was to take our opportunity to build our course schedule, we already anticipate the courses that we need. So this increase is only to support those courses for those students right now. So that's why we're seeing the increase. So it's about supporting not Madison Promise, the students' full-time program, but supporting the students who need to be on the program because of the lack of the teacher in the course.
Okay, so this won't be a continual problem going forward. It's a fix to
Correct.
fill a gap. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Board Member Gomez Schmidt. Further discussion or questions? I just want to ask, this is being funded via ESSER. ESSER funding is only going to be around for so long. What is our plan beyond ESSER to either meet the needs of the students that this is going to meet the needs of? Yeah.
Well, I can't answer that question. Well, I can't answer that question. The goal is that we're going to continue to recruit teachers. The reason why we're having this issue right now, or trying to work it is because of the lack of certified Wisconsin teachers that we have at our high schools. So right now, what we're trying to do is fill that gap, especially centered around those credit-bearing courses at the high school and the middle school. That's our first priority. So our goal is if we have the staff, and then we would not be in this situation where we'll be requesting these additional fundings for this course. So your answer is, hopefully we have the certified teachers, and then that will resolve this issue for the need for the increase.
I very much appreciate your answer, although I think our plan to sustainably support students in this learning is something I'd like to see fleshed out in terms of, knowing that the resources that are supporting this won't exist and we have to cultivate the resources students need. My understanding is that this would allow for us to provide instruction in French, German, Spanish, and any other language?
So right now, what we're providing is just going to be for AP Spanish, German, and Spanish 2. Those are the requests that we have right now. Now, we do have the capacity for other world languages, but those courses were not requested at this time. But do we have the capacity? Yes. But I think what's interesting though, is that the need will not be as large if we had those certified teachers. Right now, I think what we're trying to resolve, this mic is not helpful for the tall people. I just want y'all to know that. But right now, what we're trying to resolve is just that issue of so many teacher shortages. If this was much smaller, I could build this, for example, in German 2 and 3, it's a very small number of students, but in Spanish, it's a very large number of students, which is why I just did not have the capacity with the funding that I already had. So again, if you're thinking about like small courses, like for example, let's just use ASL, for example, we might know like that is a small number of students, then I could have been able to meet that need. But when you have a class like Spanish 2 that you don't have, and you have a lot of sections that's not, that you don't have a teacher, then that need is getting larger.
So I think the other thing I'm a little curious about is the difference between instruction versus a material, right? If you buy a Spanish book, that book, you're going to use it again and again, right? For years, as long as that book is relevant and in print. You know, and beyond it being in print, honestly, right? You're going to save that resource and material. This, I'm like, are we purchasing the material that is the coursework? Or are we purchasing the facilitation and instruction, which is the certified teacher attached to that online coursework?
Both.
Okay.
So with this, what's happening is that you're having the curriculum. The student has access to the texts and the assessments and all of that they need. But then you also are having that teacher who is facilitating that learning. So the expense of that is much larger. When you think about Madison Promise, because we're using our teachers to teach it, that expense is not as much because we're using our teachers and we're just using the curriculum for Pearson.
That makes a lot of sense to me, but I'm like, we don't own, obviously you don't own the instruction, but the curriculum itself, that also is not something that we are purchasing. We're renting or leasing the curriculum itself and the materials themselves, or the materials will be available to us next year, but the instruction won't. I'm so sorry.
No. Just, I think I understand what you're saying. So we're renting both.
Okay.
Because the way this one is so let me just explain it to you like this. With Madison Promise, we have the instructors, those teachers are under an MMSD contract. So no matter what happens next year, we know like those are our teachers, but we don't have the curriculum, and that's what we get from Pearson. With these are what I'm like to call our part-time students. We are using both the teacher from Pearson and the curriculum from Pearson. So we don't own any one of those because we're using or paying for the services of both of them.
So what is the curriculum we would give if we didn't have the teacher shortage? What's the curriculum that we would use instead of Pearson?
In the high schools?
In the high schools or in the middle schools that get high school credit for taking a foreign language?
So so it would be with that district issued curriculum that will be created and endorsed by our CNI department. Taught. An MMSD teacher that we own the curriculum and all that.
Okay. Thanks for answering the questions. I appreciate you chiming in, Ms. Jackson. That's it for my questions. Further discussion or questions? Joanna, your advisory vote?
Yes.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Wait, I'm sorry. Board Member Simkin, was your hand up? Okay. I feel like that's why I said 6-0. I move that the Board of Education approve the September 2022 Human Resource Transaction Report, items 1 to 180. I'm gonna jump to this one and go back to those because I just moved. My bad, I'm sorry, y'all. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Board Member Gomez Schmidt.
Yeah, I pulled this just looking through the number of teachers and staff that we have hired, and just wondering if going forward, we can get an analysis of the number of people that we're hiring with stipulations, license, like 1-year licenses, compared to before. And I'm curious what like the level of support that we might need. I keep sort of referencing this back as we add more staff and more staff who are under stipulations, like what type of additional support they may need, professional development and things going forward. So I just pulled it to highlight that.
Are you directing your question at someone?
I guess I will direct that at Ms. Carradine or Dr. Jenkins.
Yeah, I just have a question when you say before when? When you talk about
Hiring.
the staffing with stipulation.
I guess just this year compared to other years.
Okay.
So I do want to just acknowledge that emergency licenses or 1-year licenses, that's a pretty complex aspect of the population of teachers working for us. There are teachers who have worked for us for, like nearly a decade, who renew an emergency license on a yearly basis as they pursue their master's in education. So I think that information, I think that there's some need to acknowledge that there are folks who've been working on an emergency license the entire time. And then separating that out from, past years and this year. And I guess I'm curious how you want the administration to do that and report back to the board.
No, I appreciate that. I guess I'm just thinking from a level of support or extra support that might be needed. And as we're going through and adding this volume of staff, just to recognize the sheer number of people we have hired and the necessity of doing that. And just if there is additional professional development or mentoring or other things needed, I just wanted to highlight that. So, if that is not possible to do, I would respect the expertise of Dr. Jenkins and Ms. Carradine to figure out if that is possible.
And just for myself, I'm trying to really understand the question. Because I know the work, and as Chair Mulder said, you always have 1-year license teachers, in particular over the last, not even just been since the pandemic. We have 1-year license, particularly like cross-categorical teachers, some of the hard to fill jobs. You have 1-year license, sometimes trying to get fill through the full certification piece of it. I'll ask Ms. Carradine if you have something to add to that, please. And once I get a clear understanding of your question, I'll be glad to come back and just share it with you in terms of where we are.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And if it's more complicated than what I am asking and it's difficult to do, again, and just trying to recognize the extra level of support we may need with the sheer number of new staff we have entering our district.
Yes, so I've put those numbers in staffing reports before, and we can look at that again. But what you're asking for goes across not only HR, but it goes across the professional learning development department. Because what we do is they apply for the licensure for what classes they have. They have to take 6 credits. Now that's DPI standard that they have to do. So with us, it has to figure out what classes they will take and which classes are offered. So there's nothing we can do about that. So it goes across 2 different, sometimes 3 different departments, because DPI is involved in that as well.
Board Member Nichols.
Thank you for that. My question is more to Board Member Gomez Schmidt. I'm wondering if your question is, do we have the ability, does HR have the ability to track retention over time based on maybe the different ways that people are coming in as new hires. Because to me, I don't know from a board seat that we need to know all of the nuances of what professional learning or onboarding or mentoring they're getting. I think where a lot of our conversation has been focused at the board level is the retention of our employees. And so I would trust that through HR, professional learning, and however a building principal is supporting their new staff, that we would see a result that looks like, we've got some retention. So I don't know if your question is around retention and being able to track that, or if it is as nuanced around what is our onboarding process, and can you better describe what that looks like, particularly for people on an emergency start.
I think we're talking about the same goal. I think the goal would be to make sure we're retaining people who are coming to us. Yes, I think it's the same goal, and maybe I'm not asking the right question in this context, but yeah, maybe just different questions around the retention when people are joining us. So.
And I would just like to see if I can clarify. It's pretty much what Board Member Nichols pushing into. If we're talking about the number of people we're retaining on those emergency license and the type of professional development that they're receiving, and then there could be a cost analysis between who's getting the training, how long do they stay in our system? So we're really looking at retention. That's what you're saying, and what's kind of the cost of that. And that's just the way I'm trying to say. That's the way I'm understanding your question. If it's not, please.
Yeah, no, I think it is, and maybe I can go back and think about this a little more deeply and come up with a better question going forward to clarify that. That's all.
Thank you so much, Board Member Gomez-Schmidt. Any further discussion or questions about the HR report? Johanna, your advisory vote.
I approve.
All those in favor? Aye. Board Member Gomez-Schmidt, are you? Okay. I'm like, motion carries 5-0. I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditure totaling in $647,000 to produce purchases from local vendors offering fresh produce. This is back to the other two. I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditure totaling in $647,000 to produce purchases from local vendors, Lafro, Fresh Produce, V Merchants, Baraboo Cisco, totaling $647,000 for a structured competitive bid process. Exact vendor expenditure will be based on the weekly produce bid taking place during the 2022-2023 school year using funds from the 2022-2023 Food Nutrition Operating Budget Fund 50. Second, Board Member Vandermeulen. Any discussion? Board Member Gomez-Schmidt.
Yes, I pulled this. I remember us approving this last year, and there were questions around the process of increasing our local food supply and access to local producers, and especially around the work that we do with REAP Food Group. I'm kind of wondering, I see this as really important, like being able to diversify where our produce comes from and have these bids coming in. I guess one of the questions, and I remember this being asked, was about moving towards sustainability and local food. If we had looked into the Good Food Purchasing Program to increase local food access, and if that is part of the planning process going forward, recognizing that we're doing this again this year, but just sort of wondering where the local food vendors fit into this, the smaller ones.
Yeah, excellent question, Board Member Gomez-Schmidt. This here, in essence, will allow us to actually, the local producers that you see, It will allow us some flexibility. Right now, we're stuck with Cisco and their time periods in which they may not have product in the manner in which we choose. The flexibility that we have locally, we will get fresher products, quicker service, and cheaper price rather than a big box vendor. We'll continue to work with REAP on our FFVP programs and every opportunity that we have to increase greater options. This opens the door. We've already doing business with these vendors. We've just opened the PO to a greater amount. I would also add in, I think it's critical for us during this supply chain issue that we have as many options as possible to purchase, particularly as we go in the winter months. Typically, we're saddled with frozen products. This will allow us great access to fresher products even in the winter months. And to your good food purchasing program as well, I think that's on the horizon. We have not gotten that far yet, but I do plan, myself and Josh, we're working through a plan once we get the RFP out in November to begin to incorporate next steps for good food purchasing.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
Any further questions or discussion? Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yes, I approve.
All those in favor, aye. Motion carries 6-0. I move the Board of Education approve an expenditure in the amount of $40,099 for the replacement of playground asphalt and 2 asphalt claps at Jefferson Middle School through Pine and Dolan, using funding from the fiscal year 2023 building services operating budget.
Second.
Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yes, I approve.
All those in favor?
I have to abstain.
Any abstentions? Any recusals? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-1. Back up to wellness. I move that the Board of Education approve the changes to Board Policy 4610 Wellness as set forth in the materials prepared for the September 28th, 2022 regular meeting, and said revisions take effect immediately.
Second.
Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yep, I definitely approve.
All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. All right. Board Member Nichols, reports coming from the City Education Committee.
Yes, the City Education Committee met on September 21st. The major topic of our agenda was discussion about the possibility of expanding driver's education and behind the wheel for many of the young people in our community. We were particularly moved by public comments from Greg Markle, who's the executive director from Operation Fresh Start, who talked quite a bit about the driver's license program that he has for 18 to 24-year-olds and how the county has been funding that. He also shared in his public comment that they have found an innovative way to support not only the instructional part of driver's ed, but the behind the wheel portion with Four Lakes Drivers Driving School. Based on that public comment and information that I was able to bring forward from MMSD, the conversation really was focused on the wanting more information about behind the wheel providers, and also wanting to look at other investments that the city and the county might be able to make to make this a more accessible program and actual like real life reality for so many young people since driver's ed has been taken out of our schools. So a lot of interest from the committee, and we'll be holding our regular meeting in October on the regularly scheduled date.
Thank you so much for that update, Board Member Nichols. Johanna, can you give us reports back from Student Senate, please?
Yes, so we had our first meeting on the 21st. We just did a lot of like introductory things. So we had introductions. We went over our Student Senate norms, our calendar for this year, just an introduction to what Student Senate is. We got everybody linked into our Google Classroom. We did a few activities and discussions, and we're just really excited to see all the new members this year. And we just had an exit form, and that was about it. And our next meeting will be October 5th.
Thank you so much, Johanna. MSCR Board Member Vandermeulen, can you please give us reports on your most recent meeting?
Forgot. Unfortunately, our most recent meeting is happening currently. So I was unable to attend as I was at the board meeting. However, they've stated that things have been hectic during the move out of the Hoyt building. They're doing quite well. And things are going well. They look forward to upcoming meetings and upcoming activities. They're very pleased with the number of people who have registered in the fall.
Thank you so much, Board Member Vandermeulen. Citizens Ad Hoc Committee to rename Jefferson Middle School did not meet during the month of September. This ad hoc has been pushed and paused until October 18th, 2022. Safety and Wellness Ad Hoc Committee, Board Member Pearson.
Okay, so we had meetings on September 8th and 22nd. We had presentations from the representatives of the Rape Crisis Center on the work that they do within our schools. And then also we heard from teachers and staff that are working directly with students on restorative justice and how it's implemented at some of the schools, including a high school, middle school, and elementary school levels. In addition, we also discuss a grid with compiled possible recommendations just from our meetings that we've had thus far. And then our next steps, as well as leadership transition plan and new members that we'll vote on tonight for the core team voting members. Our next meeting is on October 6th and 27th. Yeah.
On to other business. I move that the Board of Education disallow a claim on behalf of an MMSD student under Wisconsin State Statute 89.80 and said claim alleging liability-based negligence by the district and district personnel.
Second, Nikki Vandermeulen.
Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I move that the Board of Education approve the revised membership to the 12-person committee for the purposes of renaming Jefferson Middle School as set forth in the document prepared for the regular board meeting of the Board of Education dated September 28th, 2022. I further move that one person be designated as an alternative member should the need arise as set forth in the document prepared for the regular board meeting dated September 28th, 2022.
Second, Maya Pearson.
Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yep.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. I move that the Board of Education approve the revised membership of the core group of Safety and Student Wellness Ad Hoc Committee composed of 13 voting members as set forth in the documents prepared for the regular board meeting dated September 28th, 2022. Johanna, your advisory.
Second, Maya.
Thank you, Board Member Pearson.
I got you.
Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yep.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Board Member Gomez Schmidt. Johanna, your advisory vote.
Yep.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Have a nice night, y'all.
9 PM.
Well done.
Good. Wow.